Welcome, welcome. I am Natan Verkhovsky, founder of Allura Creative Agency, which proudly presents the Frequency of Abundance Group. And you can join us over on LinkedIn, type the Frequency of Abundance Group, and it's a completely complimentary, free place for you to come and explore and share as a coach, a healer, a therapist, a financial advisor, as an agency owner, so you can hear the other side of the conversation. And I think both sides need to start talking to each other a little bit better so that we can communicate more. Because of that, to that end, and with that initiative, I've created these daily reports and quests and little nuggets of wisdom that we can share on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays. It's motivational Mondays, winning Wednesdays, fearless Fridays. Every day of the week has a name, and every day of the week has a different flavor. So Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we're going to have guest experts. They're going to be coming and speaking to us on a plethora of topics you cannot imagine, from mindset and nutrition, my goodness, all the way over to like financial assets and other so crazy fun, all in the sun. Every single day, including weekends, there is a 30-minute segment, either at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern on Mondays and Fridays, or 1 o'clock in the afternoon for every other day of the week. Tune in, join in. There are hundreds and hundreds of eyes all over the place, sneaking a peek on all the different frequencies on all the channels. And it's because of the incredible topics that we're going to be discussing. And I would hope also some of the cool people that we get to meet and greet too. So if you don't know me, I'll take 30 seconds to introduce myself. There's a lot of cool new people that are coming on as a coach or a healer or therapist, and that's a blessing, and it's so, so cool. I've been involved in that side of things, my goodness, now going on about 30 years. So back in the early 90s, I started off as a medical hypnotherapist. I got licensed. I've had about 15,000 people come through my hands in the last 30 years. Wrote a couple best-selling books. Started off really on an elite peak performance basis with Cirque du Soleil, acrobats and artists, Olympians, national sports teams from all over the world. So I was very, very happy staying like that. And then COVID hit. And I joke and say I didn't want to make cat videos like everybody else. And so I came on thinking, how hard can this be? From being an offline coach for 30 years, how hard can online be? And online was horrible. It was absolutely horrible, horrible. Couldn't get the tech to work, felt dumb. Couldn't get the marketing to work, felt like I'm 1 week behind, and that's why I'm using last week's marketing and not this week's marketing, and that's why it doesn't work. So I felt slow and I felt dumb, and it was not good. And back in June 2020, I founded the Essential Academy, and we're a private, not-for-profit, invitation-only educational community. And so we had a good 100 instructors and about 400 students, and we were a baby university for the first couple of years of the pandemic, and it was wonderful. And then things evolved, and as most things that evolve and change, we were blessed enough to be in a place where, and to the point of this meeting, I needed to step up and lead and really, really go and take those first few steps. And where we converted ourselves from the academy model over to the agency model was so that we could better serve. And it's always been the ultimate goal. So to that end, keeping in mind what it is that you're trying to do, kind of like, start with the end in mind, it's a pretty good one. If we're looking at the specifics of today, how to both serve and lead as a servant leader, it's a beautifully fine line. It's sometimes so close together that you can't tell the difference. And I think that might be one of the benchmarks of why, like would they say, if you're meditating and then you think about, hey, wait a minute, I'm meditating. Whoop, no, you're not anymore. So if you're both serving and leading as a servant leader, it's one of those things that you're so busy doing, you can't have any part of you put aside to reflect on that during the action. The action is the action, and you got to be either coach or you got to be athlete. You can't be both. And you definitely can't be both at the same time. You'll fall down. So if that's going to serve for athletes, would the exact same words serve for people? You got to be either servant or leader. You can't be both, and you definitely can't be both at the same time. Hmm, I believe you can. When we're looking at athletics, it's a physical motor skill performed to the highest level. And it also incorporates a lot of mental and it's got some emotional and belief components to it. Absolutely. But that's not the same as leading a community or a group or your family or staff or peers or friends or no, I don't see them being the same. This is much more communication based, action based, emotional intelligence. And to that end, it's so much more important that we completely focus and really, really see where we are right now. So, are we so busy serving our community and so busy serving our clients that we're not able to lead because we don't have any more time or energy? Or maybe we don't have enough time or energy to have the vision and reflection needed and the time needed to get into that creative state and then stay there long enough for the reflection and the magic to actually happen. This happens far too often for all of us. So, the ability to get into a state of flow, the zone, whatever you want to call it, is impressive and important. Equally, I would say, is the ability to stay in that state for as long as you need, including distraction blocking techniques. If something rings or buzzes or a car goes by or whatever, you need to be able to have that. I spent, goodness, almost a lifetime in the martial arts, about 40 years of my life. And I remember one of my senseis, he had said that when you're sitting there meditating right before we start class, you need to be so completely gone from yourself that if a bee comes by and stings you on the nose, you won't move. I've yet to get to that level. I can tell you that right now. No problem admitting that. But I understand where he's coming from. And I do love to be so deeply in a state of flow that nothing can distract me or take me away. And that's beautiful. And quite often for us to really truly lead, it's necessary. So, space, time, solitude, quiet, distraction blocking techniques. Get into a state of flow, stay in a state of flow until the answer comes. This is kind of like if you're a religious person, praying on it. If you're a skeptical person, I need to sleep on it. Wherever it is you're coming from, there is a certain element of time, either with deep, intense concentration or time and complete detachment. But either way, there's needing to be an element of time in that. So that's a recurring theme. If you don't have the time to serve, you're literally not a servant. If you're so busy leading and you don't look behind you and realize nobody's following, that's where you're going to run into a problem and your ability to lead will definitely be hampered. If we're looking at leadership is not just about being in charge, but about lifting others up. Empowering is a great way to do that because there's a difference between, when we talk about an organization and we say, hey, this is what management wants you to do, or this is what ownership wants you to do, or this is what the executive C-suite wants you to do. But the more enlightened ones talk about this is what leadership wants from you and is looking for. And it's that beautiful crown that, hey, you might be in leadership in this organization, even if you're not in the C-suite or a VP. You might be a manager. You might be a star employee, but you're still in leadership. And we listen to you and we look to you to lead. So if it's not about being in charge at all, you can have people who aren't in charge and still be leaders, especially if you bring them into that beautiful warm space of leadership. Now, that process of bringing them into that beautifully selective group of leadership, that is how you lift them up. They would have thought it was impossible beforehand, and they're going to be blown away with what you just did. When we break down servant leadership, it's much more of an art than it is a science, especially since everybody's different. There'll be some common recurring themes, but the focal point is always going to be how do I know? How do I know if I'm leading with purpose? How do I know if I'm serving with impact? How do I know if I'm inspiring meaningful change? Well, as big an elephant as that is to chew, usually the best way to do that is bite one bite at a time. But if we take a look at just the most simplest way, how do you know, if it's working, or how do you know if you're doing good, or you ask. If it's people, then you ask people. If you're a big intimidating persona, you can have an anonymous, suggestion box or anonymous reviews or anything, but you can ask. If it's not people based and you can't really ask in that context, no problem. You can take a look at trackable, measurable results. Look at the metrics. Look at what benchmarks you set, because again, we started with the end in mind. So you already quantified and qualified what success would look like to you. As a servant leader, quantify it. What does that mean? That means that multiple times a year, I get touch points. I know that I've got my fingers on the pulse. I know that I'm connected. Okay, qualify it. I see the smiles in connections, and I feel a higher level of servant. And because of that, I feel an even greater level of leadership, and I can see it resonating among everyone. So quantify and qualify what leading with purpose would look like. How would you know if you'd succeeded? There was a purpose, we went to it, and you can track against that. Very easy. Serving with impact, a little harder. If we're serving with impact, you can measure, as the word suggests, the value, the quantity, of that impact. You needed to set that up ahead of time. Preempt and prepared are the two key words for how you serve and lead, and still have time at the end of the day to be you, with family, with friends, with yourself, with whatever you want at the end of the day. So this needs to be thought out and then implemented. So if we're looking to, if we're looking to serve with impact, figure out ahead of time what that measurable outcome, result, output, impact would be, and run with that. Track to that. If we're looking to inspire meaningful change, that's going to be a way for you to go, what was it before? What do I want it to be? And now let's measure, what is it after we went through that process? And if that lines up with everything that you asked ahead of time, well then, ta-da, that was meaningful change. When you're inspiring it, it implies you're taking the action off yourself. This is very healthy and important. There's no other way to get that first thing we talked about, which is time, back. You have to delegate. That's the first thing. But the beauty of delegating also gives some of the power to some of the other people. Thus, that helps lift them up. And that's all part of it. And I think that's very cool. Let's keep looking a little bit further, a little bit deeper. So if we're realizing that, the bottleneck's always at the top, you're the leader, you're the top. So if there's a bottleneck, it's you. And because it's you, you always have to go first. You always have to trailblaze. You always have to lead the way as that servant leader. But then the servant part of that kicks in when you go back to make sure that everyone's following, that they're accommodated as best as can be. So knowing that, tracking to that, measuring that, leaving enough foresight before you need to implement that, and then making sure that you had enough time in the first place to think of all that things and get through all those processes and get that to yourself, get it to the right people, make sure that that gets implemented. When you're looking to lead, and not just lead, but serve and elevate and transform, all of it starts with you. So, are you serving yourself? You eating good, you exercise, and you getting rest? Are you staying away from things that are emotional vampires, negativity, um, whatever it is, or whoever it is? Are you serving yourself? Because really, nobody else can. Elevate. Are you elevating yourself? Are you challenging yourself? Progress equals happiness. I repeat, progress equals happiness. So, when's the last time you challenged yourself? Personally, not as a leader, personally. And bit off more than you could chew and then found a way, proceeded to find a way to chew it. When's the last time you challenged yourself or did something you didn't think you could do and then did it? Because that was the last time this joy, happiness, emotional bubble came off. Make you feel like you're like the bubbles in 7 Up. That's when that happens. Those beautiful feelings of elation come as a reward, the happiness side of the equation. On the other side is progress. Progress only comes when it's against a challenge. So you constantly need to, in order to elevate yourself, challenge yourself, grow in all ways, always. And lastly, transform. Transform yourself. Put it out there. Look at what I was or where I was, and look at what I am or where I am. Look at how far I've come. Look at what has happened along that metamorphosis. Look at what's happened during that transformation. Look at what's been playing in the background that I either leaned into, no matter how much I didn't want to, or I ignored and focused on what I needed to focus on, or a bit of both, because Tuesday was this and Wednesday was that. That's life. And part of that humanity is when you share. So your ability to transform is directly linked to your ability to share what the hell you're going through. And be so surprised, as we all are, that magically someone else is or has as well, or is about to, and really thanks you for that share. So serve yourself, elevate yourself, transform yourself. Take care of you, challenge you, and then really give yourself permission to go, okay, now I've transformed. Whew. So now the new you is radiating at a frequency of abundance considerably higher than the old you was. And because of that, you're like a new light bulb. And your light is at a different frequency, intensity, different lumens. And because of that, it attracts a completely new set of insect or bug or bird. So this type of light and this intensity attracts these types of bugs. And now, like flies to the moths to the flame, you're burning so bright with the frequency of abundance after you've served, elevated, and transformed yourself that now a whole new group of people is like, oh, I hear that, and I never heard that before. Now you're blowing a dog whistle at a higher level, and new clients, new people, new incredible connections are coming your way at the highest level that you would have never even dreamed were possible before. All because you first looked within and took it upon yourself to serve and lead. And know that first you needed to lead with yourself to help you better serve others. And then the better you serve the others, it'd be kind of obvious because they'll let you know what's the next thing you need to do to lead even better. And you'll constantly go into this beautiful feedback loop where you'll know what you need to do because you'll ask. And you'll see if you're doing it or not because you'll lay down the track and see if you're tracking. And all of this will give you more time and more freedom and more space to once again become even a better servant leader. Now, if you're interested in keeping the conversation going, I will put my contact in the chat. Oh, wonderful. We got Scott popping in. Servant leadership is very provable. You can see it in personal analytics, and it's awesome. Yes, sir. 100%. Thank you. Thank you. I apologize. I didn't see your post. Yes, it's one of those things that you really want to get a handle on, but it's also an intangible. It's talking about love and such, it's talking about the wind. So we can't just believe in things that exist because we can see them, because love and the wind are kind of tricky to grab your hands on, but boy, oh boy, they sure do exist. So I'll leave you with that thought for today. Grab some time on my calendar if it serves you to have a conversation. If you'd like to come join us at the Frequency of Abundance, we have that over on LinkedIn. We also have a small paid group if you'd like to join us and get access to more goodies, workshops, meet and greet with other people that are in that agency owner or coach, healer, therapist, subject matter expert space that are looking to work and play and live and learn online and do it well, do it with heart, do it properly. So thank you to everyone who's got eyes on us for today. I'll be signing off, and know that we've got, oh my goodness, we're going to have so much fun. So the weekend's coming. And before the weekend, tomorrow, we've got Fearless Fridays. I've got a special guest coming in, the ultimate unicorn, Mr. Dave Waltzer. And we're going to be talking money, which is always nice right around this time of year and is going to be popular. After that, we've got Successful Saturdays, and you guessed it, Soaring Sundays. So new topics, new peeps, all the goodies coming up. Everything's advertised week after week. Join us live, join us in our community, join us on our page. Reach out to me if there's anything I could do to help you shine your light and spread it a little bit further as well.